We have made it to day 7. 1 full week we've made it together. This past 7 days we focused on God's presence in our life. We focused on it in God's presence in our thoughts, in our family, in our friendships, in our workplace, in our finances. Yesterday we talked about God's presence in our suffering. We want to close that first week with God's presence in our future. And it's interesting because a lot of times we think of our future, but we're such in the grind of the present, of what we're doing in the present right now, that we don't really think too much of the future. I can say that once I became a mom, the future was all I could think about. Everything that I did today was to make a better future for my son, to set him up for success in the future, to be able to him have a better future. But I always thought about his future, but as I realized, I never really thought about my future, and I never really thought about that. And then I experienced some circumstances where I realized that it didn't matter what I did or what I didn't do. I can't control my son's future. I can't control what he decides to do and he doesn't decide to do. And that realization really impacted my life, because it made me kind of refocus and realize that I have to worry about me and my future. And the better I became, the better my son became. The better I did, the better the surroundings was. The more I had God in me, the more I was bringing it to my places. And that's why this week has been really, really amazing for me, because I've kind of walked that out. And I didn't get there simply because, I have this great relationship with God, and that's the only thing. No, I've gotten to that place because of my hardships, because of my struggles, because of my circumstances. They've led me to that place. So it says today, in his presence in my future, we find the verse in Proverbs 4:12. And it says, when you walk, your steps will not be impeded, for your path will be clear and open. And when you run, you will not stumble. That's the Amplified Version. When you walk, your steps will not be impeded. When you run, you will not stumble. And I did the same thing this time around as I did yesterday. I went through the whole entire chapter, and I was reading verse by verse and kind of trying to see in context what that was talking about. And it's a word of encouragement. There's a lot of words of encouragement on there. There's a lot of instructions on there on what to do. And what I found really interesting is that there's a couple things that are repeated in there. And it says that, take hold of my words with all your heart. It says it a couple times. Pay attention. It says it a couple times. It says, keep my commands, get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget my words. Do not turn away. Love wisdom. And it talks about wisdom a lot. And wisdom for me, and my understanding of wisdom, is acquiring knowledge, getting information, learning of all these new things, but being able to put that into practice and gaining experience. So when I have knowledge and I have experience, I put those things together and it gives me wisdom. And we're able to make better decisions and be able to make good conclusions and be able to advise someone and receive advice and just grow as a person and be able to influence others in that way versus controlling others. It's a place of being able to influence. And so I think that wisdom, that acquired knowledge and the application of that knowledge and having that experience, that will give me some wisdom, that will give you some wisdom. And then we can bring God into our future by making good decisions today, by being people of integrity and character today, by having Jesus in my thoughts, by having Jesus in my workplace, in my friends, in my family, in my suffering. By all of that together gives me wisdom. And me, by having wisdom, as I walk out my daily life, as I walk out my faith, it will bring Jesus into my future. So not only just thinking of my moment right now, but thinking of the future and what's going to happen and what I'm going to do, but how am I going to get there? It's going to start with me today. So by bringing God's presence into my life today, brings God's presence into my future. And like I mentioned just a couple seconds ago, I never saw the reality of that until I became a mom, where I was able to see, wow, how I work today for my son's future. What I did when he was in 6th grade was going to affect him when he was in 12th grade. Like all these things that I didn't look at it for myself, but once I was able to see it and work so hard for his future, I realized, wow, that's what God does with me. That's why God has instilled in me the fruits of the Spirit. That's why God has instilled in me great people in my life, or that I can cultivate that so that I can bring God to my life today, but I can have God in my life in the future and feel his presence at all times, whether we feel it now or we feel it in the future. So I encourage you to bring Jesus' presence into your future, into your current activities, so that you can walk in this righteous life, so that we can meet Christ. And that's our ultimate goal, that we can get to that place. So when you walk, your steps will not be impeded. When you run, you will not stumble. So that means our steps are ordered. Our future is in God's hands. We will not stumble. We will not go through all these things. Why? Why do we go through that? Because we listen, we pay attention, we gain understanding, we take hold of God's word, we keep his commandment, we get wisdom, understanding, we don't forget his words, we don't forsake wisdom. Like all these things that we do on our end, our steps are ordered. We will not stumble. It's just right there. So I encourage you to bring Jesus into your future by having him in your life today. Have a wonderful evening. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, and definitely comment. I want to know what you have to say. Have an amazing day.